There we go. So this is Winter Solstice 2022. I'm Michelle Maddox, and we're here to do a little ritual, little meditation time to honor the solstice. So again, welcome to everybody who's here. It's really nice to see you. And those of you who are off camera, I recognize some names I don't recognize, but it's nice to be here together. And if it's comfortable for you to leave your camera on, that's great. But if not, totally understandable. Please make yourself comfortable. So it's winter solstice. And I don't know about you guys, but it's been a lot of greetings of winter solstice this year, I think more than ever. Just being out in town today, of course, I live in Sedona. Things are a little different here. I had so many people wish me happy solstice. So it's been really kind of refreshing to have that be more of a normal thing. I don't know if it's that way where you are, but it certainly has been for me. And the winter solstice is our astronomical start of the winter season. Here in Arizona, northern Arizona, it got really cold last month. It felt like winter for the last 4 months. And today, on the winter solstice, it's actually one of the warmer days we've had in a number of weeks. So it's not always winter on the winter solstice, but it is the astronomical start of winter. It's the day where we have the longest night and the shortest day. So yesterday, the day was a little bit longer than today, and tomorrow it'll be a little bit longer than today, but today is the shortest day of the year here in the Northern Hemisphere. And if you've ever been or seen places where there's usually they're archaeological sites where there's some kind of earthen clock that honors the different times of the year, the winter solstice is usually one of those times where the sunrise or the sunset is marked on the landscape by a standing rock or maybe a notch in a rock, or some cultures have spirals that tell the time through the seasons. And that's always, for me, kind of a geeky thing to enjoy. So traditionally, this is the tough time. This is winter. This is when everything kind of slows down. The growing season is over. There's not a lot of food to be found if you're hunting and gathering in the Northern Hemisphere. Of course, for us in our modern day, we have grocery stores that bring food from all around the planet, so not such a problem. But for the wild animals and for our ancestors who lived closer to the seasons, this was a difficult time. It was a time to really slow down, to conserve energy. And because the days were shorter and we didn't have electricity to light up the night the way that we do now, it was a time to really rest. There's not a lot you could do, but really sit around the fire, go to bed early, take it easy, and not burn any more energy than you need to. And so still, we have that longing within us. There's a part of us that is in tune with that rhythm. And celebrating the solstice is always a way to acknowledge that rhythm and take advantage of that sacred time for what it has to offer us. So for me, that means slowing down, really slowing down. You know, there can be a lot of striving and reaching in the world of, self-growth and development. There's always some new thing to do, some new diet to try or some new thing to put your energy into. And the winter solstice, this winter season, is really a time of not doing those things, just letting yourself rest instead of reaching and striving and trying to create. A nice analogy is look at it from a seasonal perspective. The summer is when we have our gardens going, when there's a lot of plants, producing fruits and vegetables. And then the harvest is in the fall. And now this time of the year would be the time when that's all shut down. Everything's resting. Everything's taking a break. And so it's a good time for us to follow that rhythm. So if you keep a garden, maybe you've gone in already and kind of clipped all of the stalks that have already produced their fruits and vegetables, maybe work them into the soil or clean them up somehow. And that's really what the invitation here is. It's to kind of reflect on what the last year has been, how we've grown, what kind of fruits we produced, what kind of experiences we've had, and really make sure that we've digested that. So often we just plunge straight ahead into New Year's resolutions and what I want to create for the next year. And that's fine. But it's really useful to slow down and reflect on what the past year has brought with it. And then during this winter time, instead of trying to strive to create and do, it's more like the seeds that are being held in the earth, gestating through the winter, so that when the sun starts to warm the earth and things start moving again in the spring, those seeds are ready to burst through and create a whole new life, a whole new cycle. So this is a lovely time to be like the seed and just let yourself be held in the earth, however that looks for you. But just to really give yourself that deep, quiet rest. And, that can look a lot of ways. It can look like sinking into your meditation practice a little more. It can look like resting, just giving yourself the rest that maybe you long for, even in little bits, like taking a nice bath, soaking your feet, snuggling up with a good book, just relax into the winter. In the Celtic tradition, which is my heritage, most of my ancestral heritage is Celtic, this is called Yule. This day of the winter solstice is called Yule. And you probably have heard that word used. It's still linked to Christmas time, which is also a holiday that kind of got linked to winter solstice. And there's lots of traditions like mistletoe, kissing under the mistletoe that comes from the Celtic world, and Yule logs, which were logs that would be burning and kept burning through these darkest nights of the winter solstice. So a lot of traditions continue that are fun to either acknowledge or participate in if you're able to. So this is a good time for us to reflect. And what we're going to do here tonight is a couple of two meditations. The first one, I'm going to invite you to reflect on how this past year has been. Now, this may be a practice that you do periodically. For those of you that have meditated with me during the lunar cycle or on a full moon, you've heard me talk about how the new moon is the time to really kind of reflect and what seeds do I want to plant for the next year. We do that on the new moon, but that time right before the new moon is when we reflect and just kind of, look at how we used our energy in this last year, the things that we accomplished through our efforts, and the things that just came to us as life does, that brought us opportunities for joy, opportunities for grief, and all the things in between. So I'll guide us through an exercise to reflect. And this reflection, it's a little different than just straight meditation. I'll be prompting you in different ways to reflect and what to kind of look at. And if you're not used to this, you don't have to be using your conscious mind so much. It's not an accounting of what you've done throughout the year, but it's more about just letting yourself kind of fly over, the year, however that's going to look for you. Some people are very visual and they can literally see the calendar flipping through from month to month and kind of reflect and remember on what happened. For other people, you're going to feel it more in your body and maybe just noticing as I describe different times or different things that maybe have occurred for you, noticing where you feel it in your body, but not consciously making a list and thinking through it. It's being in that meditative awareness and just allowing these things to come to you. And whether they come to you as visions or feelings or however, It's okay. There's no right or wrong here. The point is really just to enjoy and reflect and just let it show you, let your intuition be the guide. So that's what we'll start with. And then a little later, we'll talk more about the second part that the winter solstice really offers, which is the return of the light and the rest, that deep, deep rest, and how we create the light to carry with us through the dark. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. So to get ready to do this reflection exercise, you'll want to be comfortable, however you like to meditate. We'll do kind of a shorter practice, but it'll be an eyes closed and a meditative awareness kind of practice. And I'll invite you to kind of think through, or to allow to come to you significant things that have happened this year, experiences that you've had. It could be new people that have come into your life, maybe people that have left your life. It could be new places. Maybe you traveled to some fabulous new places that really touched you, or you've come into some new awareness or understanding. Maybe there were some aspirations that were a big deal for you in 2022 that you put your effort towards and they actually happened. Maybe the way you wanted, maybe a different way, but just a chance to kind of reflect and digest, to process or at least notice what still feels like it needs to be processed. So we're not striving, we're just allowing ourselves to kind of take stock, just to observe and notice. So I'm going to pause here for just a moment and see if anyone has any questions. And it looks like somebody's just joining us. There we go. If you have a question, you're welcome to unmute yourself or just raise your hand if you know how to do that through Zoom. Great. Or if you just are on camera and you want to raise your hand, that's fine too. So welcome to D and J. Saw you guys come in, so we're just kind of getting started here for those of you that are joining. We're just taking a moment here to see if there are any questions before we do our first meditation exercise. Okay, and if not, then I'll go ahead and invite you to get yourself comfortable. Go ahead and settle into however you like to be when you meditate. You're welcome to lay down, although if you've meditated with me before, you know what I'm going to say. It's so easy to fall asleep when you lay down to meditate. And there's nothing wrong with that, but sleep and meditation are different things. So if you want to stay awake and participate, it's better to keep yourself seated upright. So when you have made yourself comfortable, I invite you to go ahead and close your eyes. And just take a couple of long, slow, deep breaths. And feel your connection to the earth. Probably everybody is indoors, and you may not feel particularly connected to the earth when you're indoors, but still, your energy can find its way into the earth. It can find its way through the floor, through whatever materials are between you and the earth below you. And just let that connection establish itself for you. Feel yourself grounded in your body. And keeping that grounded feeling, also feel your connection to the divine, whatever that means for you, God, the universe, the ocean, however you perceive the divine. Just feel that connection. And notice how it feels in your body, in your emotions. How do you know when you're connected to the divine? And through this connection to the divine, just ask that any negativity that's lingering in your personal energy field or the space around you, that negativity be cleared away. Let the energy field around you be made bright and clear. And then set an intention to have an extra layer of protection right around your personal energy field. A layer that holds all of the goodness and supportive energy close to you. And anything less than that has to stay on the other side of that boundary so that you're surrounded and filled with radiant love, grounded energy, and connection to the divine. And as you feel into this space, gently become curious about the lessons that you've learned this past year. Just allow them to come to you as you reflect over the year, starting with last winter. What brought you joy and delight? What brought you grief and sadness? Maybe there were milestone accomplishments. Don't force anything, just let it come to you naturally without judging. As you allow yourself to kind of move through the past year, from the winter to the spring. What experiences really touched you? And as you're going through these experiences, notice if any of them feel like they need any more tending from you. Do they feel complete? Or maybe they need a little more reflection time or journaling, however you tend. Moving from spring into summer. Into the autumn. All the way up to this moment. And as you allow these different experiences to pass through your awareness, hold a few moments of gratitude. Gratitude for these experiences that have brought you enrichment and growth. Gratitude for the wisdom that experience brings. We'll sit here for a few moments. Just a gentle reminder to breathe through any difficulty that may arise. If there were any challenges this past year, you don't have to get pulled into the drama, but just observe what feels complete and what feels unfinished. And if anything feels unfinished, be curious about how you can tend to those experiences to help them come into completion. Just noticing how any of these experiences feel in your body. Simply noticing. Gently bringing your awareness back into the present, into your body and the room around you. And when you feel ready, you can maybe take a moment to jot down a few thoughts that feel important. And gently come back into your full awareness. Ideally, we tend to ourselves regularly throughout the year. And we have times that are representative of that, like the lunar cycle I mentioned earlier, or like other solstices and equinoxes, those pivotal points throughout the calendar year. They offer us an invitation to sit and reflect. And for the winter solstice, it's really reflecting on what the past year has been. What have I learned? What wisdom have I accrued? And just noticing, like we just did, what feels unfinished. If we look at it from the lunar cycle perspective, when we plant those new seeds at the new moon, we're usually very ambitious. We plant way too many seeds of what we want to create. And as we go through the lunar cycle, we realize, like, okay, I've only got this much energy, this much bandwidth. I'm going to have to put these other things off until another time. And we stay with the ones that are really important until they grow and blossom, and then we harvest. And then when we reach this time of the season, we till that energy back into the earth, and we kind of see the things that we didn't quite accomplish, but we can feed that into the soil, feed that in to this long winter rest so that it can still be useful for us when it comes time for the new season of growth. So again, I'm just going to take a moment here and see if anybody has anything they want to ask or share about that experience. You don't have to, but some people like to share, and we're certainly happy to listen and hear that. So the other part of this winter solstice is the rest, the long winter rest, and these dark nights of winter. And again, if you think of the time before electricity, how might we have spent these long, dark nights with our family, with our loved ones, snuggled up warm under the blankets, by the fire, maybe telling stories. And these are the points of light that really help us get through the darkness. And it is dark. Winter is the dark time of the year. The nights are longer than the days here in the Northern Hemisphere. And I just have to say that darkness gets kind of a bad rap. Even the word, it sounds like this battle between light and dark. And it can certainly be like that. I mean, there's plenty of experiences in our world that point to that. But darkness is not necessarily a scary, evil thing. There's beauty in the darkness. Think of laying under the starry sky at night and how beautiful that is when there's no moon out and the sky is dark and you can really see the stars shining above. Or how it feels to be deep in the earth in a cave. If you've ever been into a cave, just that pure darkness. And there's something so nurturing and complete about that. And for myself, I was thinking about this today. When I was a kid, I used to like to sit in the closet. I don't know what that's about, but when I just needed to be alone, there were a few closets in our house that I would just go and close the door and just sit in the closet alone in the dark. And I love that feeling of kind of just disappearing into the darkness. Nobody knew where I was, and it was quiet, and it felt like a very safe, creative space. And you can still see the darkness that way. It doesn't have to be scary and full of, demons or any of the scary things that come from when we talk about darkness. But how do you find light in the darkness? That's one of the other opportunities here with the winter solstice. How do you find light in the darkness? Is it snuggling up with the book? Is it deepening into your spiritual practices? Is it indulging in those long bubble baths or moments in the sauna? However you feel like you can get through the dark times, you're bringing light into that darkness. And that's a beautiful opportunity here for the winter solstice. We're bringing forth the light into the darkness. So you're not going into a scary place all by yourself. You're going in with the things that nourish you, that fortify you, that really spark your own inner fire. And maybe you're doing that so you can be the light. You gather the light to you so that then you can be the light to help other people through their dark times. So, how does that look for you? Most people I talk to these days, they have really busy lives. It's hard for them to find time to even meditate, which is why I'm around, right? It's easier to meditate when you're with somebody else, when you can share in it together, when we're there for each other. So spiritual practices are a beautiful way to get through the darkness of the year, of your life. Just whenever there's darkness, our spiritual practices are the light that often helps us through. And maybe for you, there's other ways. Maybe it's snuggled up with your lover, or being close with your family, or having the kitty sit on your lap, or spending time in nature, or listening to music, or writing poetry. However it is for you, this is the season to slow down and let these things become, sorry, somebody else is joining, become the light that helps you through. So this is a beautiful time to reflect on what lights you up. What light can you gather to yourself? And how can you let yourself really relax into the season? You know, past all of the busyness of the holidays and busyness of work and just busyness that we all get addicted to. How can you carve out some time to slow down and rest with the light in your heart to see you through the darkness? So that's what this next part of our experience will be. But first, I'd like to invite you, if you have a candle, if you saw my message earlier and you have a candle near, I have one here. And I invite you to light a candle. And we'll do this ritual together as a way to gather the light around us so that you can be the light. And before I light this, I will just read a nice quote from Dory Coate, who says, "May we be the light bearers, the lantern carriers for our own souls as well as others who have forgotten that even the darkest night contains the promise of dawn." So we know that there will be a dawn. We know that the winter will come to an end. But for now, to get us through the winter, I'm just going to light my candle. And if you have a candle to light, as you do it, you can kind of silently repeat this little prayer that I'll read. Each candle we light is a star. Let us light as many as we can and spend time among the stars we've created on earth. Let us know that their twinkling is them smiling because they know a secret. The sun will be coming back, and not only returning, but strengthening from this day through many, from this darkest of nights. On Yule, let us laugh with the stars at our fear of eternal darkness. Laugh with these earthly stars that we've lit. So let your candle be a reminder of that inner star, the star that you carry within you, and that you know is going to continue to get brighter and stronger as we move through these coming weeks and months. So I'm going to set my little candle back here. And lighting candles are a beautiful ritual, you know, to enjoy the darkness of winter. Maybe take a night where you just turn all the electricity off and have a candlelit evening in your home. Or take a candlelight bath where you can be in the darkness, but with a little bit of light to warm your heart. Rituals like that are a lovely way to kindle that feeling of giving into the darkness, you know, closing yourself in that closet or wherever you feel that safety of darkness around you, but still having the light to guide your way. All right, so let's do another meditation experience. This one will be a little bit longer, and I'll guide you through an experience to explore relaxation and the light. And then we'll have some period of just silent meditation. So again, make yourself comfortable and go ahead and close your eyes and just reconnect. Feel your connection to the earth, to the divine. Feel your space clear and that gentle boundary right around your personal space, holding all that vibrant light close to you. And as you take a few breaths into this space, tune into your physical body and just notice its need for rest. Maybe you're really, really well rested, but most of us, on some level, there's a need for rest. Just take a moment to scan your body, noticing the places that need to be relaxed from carrying tension, and using the light of your awareness to bring a little softness and ease to those weary muscles. And then take a moment to scan your emotional body and just noticing your emotional need for relaxation, for rest. Maybe there's been a lot of drama, which can wear us out emotionally. Or maybe there's a need to let your emotions flow. Maybe you've been holding them back, and that can also exhaust us. But right here and right now, use your breath to help soften any tightness in your emotional body. And then bring your awareness to your mind, to your mental body. And just notice, don't get caught up in thinking, but just notice the need for relaxation here. If it's hard for your mind to settle down because there's so many thoughts, it's a good indication that your mind needs a good rest. And just continue to breathe. Breathing expansion and settling into the present moment. And just be curious how you can honor your body's need for rest during the coming weeks of winter. How can you hold this need for rest in balance with the things that you have to do? Yeah, you need to work and take care of things. But how can you bring this rest into the winter? Giving yourself that rest is a way of being really kind to yourself. How can you give yourself that kindness in the weeks ahead? Now bring your awareness to the light, the candle that you saw me light and maybe lit for yourself. The light that will light your way through the coming winter. How can you fortify yourself with light? And one way that we can do this is right now through meditation, we can connect ourselves to the very source of light and love. So I invite you to bring your attention to your heart center, right in the middle of your chest. And visualize a ball of glowing light right there in your heart center. And if you're not good at visualizing, feel a glowing ball of light right there in your heart center. And with each inhale, you can imagine that you're breathing in spiritual air that's allowing that ball of light to grow, to expand. Use your breath to bring expansion if it feels tight in your chest. Just gently ease into it. See if you can soften that heart area. And let your light shine. Let it shine through your physical body to each cell in your body. Just imagine the glow of your heart center igniting each cell of your body with radiant spiritual light. And feel your body respond. Feel it relax as the muscles receive this light. All the way down to your very bones. This purifying and loving spark of the divine shining from your heart center to every part of your body. And then imagine the light of your heart center shining into your emotional body. Bringing warmth and radiant light to your emotional self. So that no part of your emotions are left alone in the dark. They have the spark of the divine guiding them through. And bringing your awareness to your mind. Let the light shine into your mind. And where the light shines, the darkness is no more. So many dark, heavy thoughts, let them be cleansed away by this radiant divine light. Really feel it. From your heart center, Let that light continue to expand into the space around you, filling the room, just like a candle fills the space with light. Let your heart center shine into the space around you. And as your heart center continues to expand, it's almost like a nuclear reaction that just keeps growing and becoming brighter and stronger. Let it shine as far as it wants to shine, from the space around you out into the whole house, out into the world around your house. You can imagine the divine light from your heart touching all the life around you. Any plants, animals, the trees, the soil, the air. Just let your heart shine into those spaces. Be the light. We'll meditate here for just a minute or two in silence. And let your light keep shining brighter and farther. And you continue to allow your heart to shine. I'm going to read a poem. The dark shadow of space leans over us. We're mindful that the darkness of greed, exploitation, and hatred also lengthens its shadow over our small planet Earth. As our ancestors feared death and evil and all the dark powers of winter, we fear that the darkness of war, discrimination, and selfishness may doom us and our planet to an eternal winter. But may we find hope in the lights we have kindled on this sacred night. Hope in one another, and in all who form the webwork of peace and justice that spans the world. In the heart of every person on this earth burns the spark of luminous goodness. In no heart is there total darkness. May we, who have celebrated this winter solstice by our lives and service, by our prayers and love, call forth from one another the light and the love that is hidden in every heart. It's a poem from Edward Hayes from Prayers for a Planetary Pilgrim. And gently bring yourself back into the present moment. And again, if there's anything that you want to make note of, take a moment here to write in your journal or jot down a few notes. So we have this beautiful light that we can always tap into. This is what our spiritual practices are really designed for, to help keep us connected to that light, to let that light move through us so that we can be more of who we truly are in our hearts, not just the reactive, crazy people that are dealing with so much stress and chaos, but somebody that's grounded and centered and able to be a light shower, to carry that light forward. You have it within yourself. And meditation is a really lovely practice to help keep that light kindled, keep it burning within you. I'm just going to drop into the chat a link to a new meditation program that I've created. It's a monthly program that if you're interested, if you want to come together several times a month on Zoom to meditate, it'll help build a practice for you if you've been struggling with making meditation a reality in your life. There's no shortcut. It really just takes getting it on the schedule and showing up and doing it. And that's a lot easier when you have a group of support with you. So you can check that out. I've priced it very modestly. I'd like people to give it a try, see if it works for them. And if you have questions about it, you can certainly reach out. But you'll see that down in the chat. And I'll send it out when I send the recording of this experience as well. So I'm going to, again, invite you guys, if you want to come on camera, if anybody has anything that they'd like to share or say. We have plenty of time here. And if not, we finished early. I scheduled a little extra time. Never sure how talkative everybody's going to be. So if you need to cut out, feel free, you're not disrespecting me or anybody else if you need to go. But I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to chat and hear how it went for you. So I'll stick around. And if you want to say anything, you can unmute yourself and talk. I'll go ahead and stop the recording.